you could meet any writer, living or dead, who would it be and why?
Probably William Shakespeare, partly to see if he was indeed the author of the plays. Quiz him about some of his sonnets, maybe. The family lore is that we're related to Shakespeare through his cousin Humphrey Shakespeare, and so I'd want to ask him about that, find out if it's true. So he'd be high on my list. I think that his he had a mastery of writing, of expression, that has seldom been equaled and never surpassed.
Other than your own writing, of course, are there any sources you would recommend for teenagers interested in learning more about the issues of women in developing nations?
Oh, absolutely. There are a bunch of really accessible books on it. This book I'm just writing about is called I Am Nujud, age 10 and divorced. There's a book about sex trafficking by a survivor called Somali Mam, called I forget what. There's a wonderful book by a Darfur survivor called Tears of the Desert. Her name is Halima Bashir. I see it up there. And they all kind of fit this rubric of people who offer us a window into very different societies, but also ultimately, I think, end up really being inspiring.
A lot of teenagers equate success with money. What does success mean to you?
Money would be pretty low on the agenda. I think a sense of personal satisfaction, kind of comfort with oneself and with what one has done would be very high on the list. I think happiness is a pretty useful thing. A sense that I think that tends to come from a sense that one is doing a certain amount of good in the world, that one is looking out not only for oneself but also for one's larger hive.
What's the best way to get apathetic teens involved in global issues? There seem to be a lot who just don't care. What would you suggest they do?
In general, I think it's important to figure out ways of getting teens active in organizations, and not just learning about things in the classroom, but to the extent that schools can encourage students to start their own organizations or join organizations and actually do things. I think that's important. And the other would be doing more to encourage students to travel and get out of their comfort zone, not just go in herds to Paris or Italy, although that's fine, but to travel in the developing world, and to take a gap year more often between high school and college. So few American students take a gap year, and I think it really can be a major part of one's education.